Good afternoon, it's lovely to be here in Dartington, and my name is Rob Barratt, and I live in North Cornwall. I come from Dudley in the West Midlands originally, and I'm a retired school teacher, and I started writing about 10 years ago in my early 50s, so it's never too late to do something creative, you know. And I'm going to expound upon various things. It's changed, the theme has changed. So the first one is about changing the political parties that we've seen in the last few years. Because when I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, some of these parties didn't exist. And I was also interested in the Neanderthals at the same time. And there was a lot of stuff on the telly about them. They got a lot of bad press, you know, pulling women around by the hair in clubs and living in caves and all this. And actually, they were very sensitive and intelligent and a lot more caring than we knew. And I don't know if you knew this, but if you're of European or Asian descent, 2% of your DNA is Neanderthal, and that's true. And they don't know if this is because the Neanderthals mated with Homo sapiens, or because they thought Homo sapiens may have killed them, or if the DNA comes from Homo erectus, who was the ancestor of both types. So I was thinking all about this when the European elections came around about 3 years ago. And I figured with 2% Neanderthal DNA, I had more in common with the Neanderthals than with certain independence parties that were popping up around, you know. And so this is called a party political poem on behalf of the Neanderthal Independence Party. We, in the Neanderthal Independence Party, brackets NIP, feel threatened by Homo sapiens. They may cause our lives not to have happy ends. We in NIP say we are culturally unique, though a little lowbrow and evolutionarily weak. We've got more grassroots support than Neanderthal labours, and we'll try to reduce casual sex with our neighbours. The Neanderthal Health Service, the great NHS, will be sold off for bearskins so we can address the privatisation of everything that moves. That's mammoths and bison and all animals with hooves. We Neanderthals must all club together and not cave in to this inclement weather. And despite clear evidence of widespread global cooling, the Neanderthal Independence Party have just made a ruling that the Ice Age is not really taking place. We think climate change believers are a Neanderthal disgrace. We in NIP believe we do not have a future with Europe. We also believe we do not have a rhyme with Europe. Thank you. We're proud descendants of Homo erectus. Our spears will protect us. It's in the prospectus. We hope you elect us. So please vote for NIP. We're the best human species. And it's not true that we're full of buffalo feces. We hope you'll support us and can confidently say that you'll have a future in someone else's DNA. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the next link to change, you might think is a little tenuous, but this is about the change in supermarket signs, because I've always been fascinated by shop. You know, when the light goes out or a letter drops off and it spells something different, you have to repronounce it. So in this scenario, all of the supermarkets in Cornwall, the first letter drops off overnight, and nobody knows why. When the managers go in the morning, they find a government law was passed years ago, which says that whatever that letter is that's fallen off, all of the staff and the items have to be repronounced with that letter missing, okay? So just go with me on this one, all right? And so you have to work out the missing letter, a bit of brain work this afternoon. Missing letter, the name of the supermarket, the name of the member of staff, and the name of the item, okay? I'll do this one quite slowly. First two verses just explain the setting. I heard it on the local grapevine that each and every supermarket sign last night, for no apparent reason other than it being the silly season, lost its first letter. I don't know why. I've got an honest face, now would I lie? And now each item and member of staff that begins with that letter, now this really sounds daft, must lose the beginning of their very own name and be repronounced. Yes, I know it's a pain, but they've been thus instructed by the police, so they have to comply or risk breaching the peace. Down at Orison's, they've got Maltesers and Isled Ustard. The Anager, Ike, recommends ince pies with custard. His female colleagues, Andy and Arthur, prefer a nice old wine or Armite and Armalade on which to dine. But they are M-less, can't you see? And in dire need of empathy. In Esco, they've got good reason to gripe. They've got Recal, Amatos, Angerines, and Ripe. Reva, the Rolly boy, would dearly wish you bought some oilet issue or tiramisu. You can buy these items in store or online, but will someone please return the T to the sign? The OOP has Christmas ards and ands of oak, hicken breasts and Ellery. It's no joke. They've got arrots and cucumbers and he's and onion risps to pop into the succulent OOP own brand dips. Athy, at the heck out, says they need the sea for the store to get back to normality. I hear the sea also fell into the gutter at their nearby rivals, Ost Utter. The Uzda name sounds odd. Was it an act of God that made the A sway in the wind and descend to the floor of the aforementioned store? With strange smiles, customers hunt the aisles for vocados, pricots, and uvokar. The public think it's gone too far. It's a hopeless case, but with this they are faced until the missing A is finally replaced. The upmarket supermarket has to be Atros, but they're selling offals, Eatabix, and Ilja potatoes. Young Instant Iggins opens a box of spring orta, cleans around with et-ipes, talks to a customer who bought a bottle of oshing up liquid and some all-nut hips and some frozen edges that taste like chips and some helks and inkles for a seafood pie. But where's the W gone? I hear him cry. In the local par, they're open 8 till late, but without the S, it's not so great. They've got sausages and strawberry jam, Wiss rolls, Ardines, Allads, and Pam. On the helves, they've got Avery top cubes, knickers. Think about that one. Wheat, ope, and Marty tubes. In Ainsbury's, there is Ugger, of course, Having foam, Alarmy, and Oi, Orse. But the first letter is a sadly missed resource and the course of much heartfelt remorse. No one's feeling very merry because, yes, the S is necessary. Maybe the 6 letters have absconded, met together and meaningfully bonded to find happiness as W, M, A, C, T, and S. Morkts, skormt, kormst are possibilities. But would they have the facilities of a better-known shop where the letter doesn't drop? Of which are you fondest, Aldi or Londis? And what would we do if we lost the middle of Lidl? But it'll probably never happen. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'd like to finish with this one. And this is something that's changed over the last 20 or 30 years. And I live in Cornwall, but it's a feature of coastal towns and rural towns and the increase in second homes. So when an old house comes up for sale, it's too much for the local young people to afford, even a deposit sometimes. So this is simply called second home. An escape from the rat race, life lived at a slower pace, an idyllic setting they won't be letting. The cottage slumbers like the electricity meter numbers. It's early March, the house is dark. They're in Marylebone or in Rome. It's a second home. It's a mothballed shell, residential hell, a death knell, a funeral bell for the low-paid locals whose response was vocal in the White Rose before it closed, but unrecordable. It wasn't affordable. It's an empty place. It's a waste of space. No landline phone. It's a second home. In the shop, the assistant mops a spillage, cycles to a less fashionable village, and she saved for how long was it to get a deposit on a studio flat where she can't swing a cat? Despite her persistence, she's just living an existence, and she silently groans and takes out loans, and she says, why me? And wishes she could spend the days where she was raised. She wishes she could own that second home. If they want a holiday by the sea, why don't they try a B&B? Life is tough. Isn't one home enough? And don't try to build low-cost housing, because you'll be arousing the anger of every second home owner who will fly in from Barcelona or Girona or bloody Pamplona to say they represent the residents. A majority of decadents don't want to set a precedent. They want a postcard picture, a chocolate box fixture in watercolour paint, want to keep it quaint, maintain its reputation. Don't worry about house price inflation or minimum wage degradation. Sod the working population. Mustn't lower the tone. It's a second home. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.